Ready for us. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Teslanomics Live. I'm your host, Ben Sullins, and today we're going to be talking about the latest Tesla news from around the world. Sorry for the dramatic intro. This is a live show that runs usually around 45 minutes or more. If you're watching this after the fact and you don't want to sit through all of that, fear not. I will put a comment in the description down below with timestamps about all the stories that we cover. That way you can just jump straight ahead. Also, make sure that if you want to join the conversation, actually participate in the discussion, as well as ask questions, which I'll be covering after we cover the news, you need to go to Teslanomics.co and get on the email list. You can do that, there'll be pop-ups and stuff all over, or just Teslanomics.co/join, and then you will get the link right there. And then you will get invites to Crowdcast, where I actually do the Q&A and the discussions and all that. So there you have that. First and foremost, the story I want to talk about today, and let me just make sure I'll switch over so you guys can see my screen. Ba-bam. Uh-oh. Let me fix my browser. Yeah, this happens. That's not the one. Believe it or not, I still haven't mastered live streaming. Oh, let's do this one more time. Let's do the browser. There it is. Hey, browser. Hi. Here you are. Here's a story. Okay, now let's go full screen there. Ba-bam. And we're good. All right. There you go. So you should be able to see that now. I am streaming in 720, which is a bit lower resolution, but hopefully makes it a bit smoother experience for you guys on your end. All right. So first and foremost, the story about the Tesla Semi, Tesla becoming their own first customer. And let me read you a little bit from this. This comes to us from Electrek, and they write, while orders for the Tesla semi-truck are piling up, Tesla's VP of Truck Programs, Jerome Guillen, sorry if I mispronounce it, confirmed that Tesla will be its own first customer. And it will be shipping cargo between the Fremont plant where they make the cars and the battery factory in Nevada, the Gigafactory just outside of Reno, which really isn't that far. I don't know if you know how the distance here. I think they have a map on the page here. Yeah, so there you go. It's about a 4-hour drive. You kind of have to go over the mountains, which is kind of tough, I guess. But other than that, it's really pretty straightforward. Now, during the presentation, so Jerome gave a presentation about this, I believe in Netherlands. He said specifically that Tesla will be the first customer for the truck. We will use our own truck to carry cargo in the U.S. between our different facilities. We have an assembly facility in California, the Gigafactory in Nevada, so we will use our trucks to carry things in between. No surprises here. I think this is a great move for Tesla. Obviously, this is going to benefit them when it comes to testing things out and working out all the kinks. And then that will then make the other customers have an even better product and experience. Probably they'll figure out different challenges that they have with maybe certain routes or certain types of routes. And then that could lead to over-the-air updates to make improvements to the semis and everything like that, resulting in a much better product for everyone else and furthering their chance of really disrupting that market. Now, Tesla did talk at the presentation about the true cost of ownership. And last week I put out a video this last Saturday. I apologize for publishing it so late. It took a long, long time. As I mentioned, I had to rebuild my whole computer setup here. I lost a bunch of footage. Really, really tough. Plus, it was Thanksgiving in the U.S., so there's that. So all that stuff said, I just did a video on this. You can take a look and see what I had for the total operating cost versus what Tesla reports. I think it's compelling. Now, this one right here that you're seeing on the screen is the Convoy option, where you have multiple trucks that are tracking it that don't have drivers, and also are benefiting from things like fuel savings from the drafting or platooning technology, as they call it. all those things said, there's a lot to learn here, and this is no big surprise, but it is exciting to see that this is happening. Not to mention that other companies like Walmart have announced that they already have placed orders for them. So I think that we're going to see adoption of this grow slowly. The news right now is pretty hot about it. Lots of people are talking about it. Lots of speculation, lots of things. But it'd probably be a few more quarters before we see real numbers of this. First off, they're not even making it until 2019. So I expect that, the news about this will kind of quiet down in the near future. I do apologize. I am cold, and I do not have a heater here. I live in San Diego, so typically it's pretty warm, but it was pretty chilly today. And I apologize for anyone that lives in a real cold environment. Go ahead and feel free to leave some nasty comments about it, I'm sure. Okay, next story. This one is so fun. This is somebody built a Roadster color picker. I'll put a link in the description so you can go play with this as well. For those of you that have been following me for a long time, you know that I won a free Roadster. Thanks to you and thanks to everyone helping spread the messages and all the information we use here and growing this community, which then enabled this whole thing. So thank you so much. But this is so fun. For what I'm getting, it's going to be this guy here. I want black on black, obsidian black metallic. Here was the midnight silver metallic that you saw at the event. I mean, there was the red one, which looked like this, which I do love. And the fact that this is a really aggressive kind of, this car deserves a color like that. Normally, I would never buy a car in a color like this. But something about this just deep, dark, Batmobile-like black really calls to me. So I think this is the color I'm going to go with. And here was the color that I mentioned, that there was a separate one kind of behind this glass barricade that you could see as well. Some of these other colors are interesting. Like, I don't really like the green here. The light blue, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of short on all these different colors. The red I think is nice. And I like the deep black there, the obsidian black metal. So anyways, put a link to the description down below. Hope you guys enjoy that. Now let's talk about Tesla breaking some laws of physics with their new battery tech. And this comes to us from Tom Randall, who writes a lot about Tesla on Bloomberg. He is a great writer, and I really love his work. So this is a great article. I really like this article. The thing about it is that he talks about there are a few different claims that they made, and those claims seem to defy the kind of laws of physics and the stuff we currently know. Let me just read you a little quip from it. They write, "These claims are so far beyond current industry standards for electric vehicles that they would require either advances in battery technology or a new understanding of how batteries are put to use," said Sam Jaffe, battery analyst for Cairn Energy Research in Boulder, Colorado. "In some cases, experts suspect that Tesla might be banking on technology improvements between now and the time when the new vehicles are actually ready for delivery." Now, Jaffe says, "I don't think they're lying. I just think that they left something out of the public reveal that would have explained how these numbers work." Okay, and let me talk about that for a second. I agree that there may be some details. Certainly there were details left out, but there may be some things that they have prototyped but aren't production ready. But I really think it would be dangerous if there's like a new technology which they don't even know about yet, which they plan on using here, because that would just be completely reckless of them, I would say. So I think that they do have a lot of these things already figured out, and maybe they're just in the prototype phase, and then the challenge will be how to make them in the mass market scale. So some of those claims, if you're unfamiliar, was that the truck will be able to haul 80,000 pounds for 500 miles. So that's quite a ways. Another one is that it would recharge in 400 miles in 30 minutes. Now, this one would require the new mega chargers, love that name. But even using the current technology, it wouldn't really be possible. So they would have to have some new advancement here. Elon has tweeted about this before, no surprise. I would not be surprised also if this same technology later came to new Model S's, X's, potentially Model 3s that would allow it to charge even faster. No big surprise there. Now, excuse me, sorry. The guaranteed charging rate of 7 cents per kilowatt hour I see as being completely possible because what they have is a complete closed circuit. They don't need the grid whatsoever. Now, they can do this with solar, power packs, and then the mega chargers. So this really is not a shock to me. I know a lot of people are talking about this like, oh, that's impossible. But really, I see how this is totally doable. Now, at 7 cents per kilowatt hour, their payback period on the investment of the mega chargers may be quite a while. But if you include that as basically a part of the infrastructure needed for these trucks, then the cost of the trucks or the upfront price of the deposits people have already placed will already be paying for this. And if you take into account the future value of dollars or of money, then this actually totally makes sense. I don't think this is a big deal, but some people seem to think that it might be extra difficult. Now, the Roadster having a 620-mile range with a 200 kilowatt-hour battery pack doesn't actually, I mean, those numbers add up, right? A current P100D gets something like 335 miles on range. So if you doubled that, I mean, you're looking at even greater. So 620-mile range with the 200 kilowatt-hour pack, not a big deal. The challenge is, how do you fit the batteries in there? Now, the fact that in this article they're calling it a tiny Roadster is interesting to me because the Roadster was not very tiny. Now, it was low to the ground, but the footprint of the vehicle was quite large. I would say it was just about as big as a Model S. Now, with also not having a trunk, if you were to fill up all of the trunk space in the Model S and the frunk with batteries, you would probably get another 60 kilowatt hours in there. So this actually, I don't think is that big of a deal. I am, fingers crossed, hoping for, though, a major breakthrough that makes it possible, because then that would mean that the S and the X will have major advances as well, which I've been thinking about for a long time. So I think that is very, very likely. So all of these things put together lead to there is a potential major breakthrough in the battery technology to be determined, right? We don't have any details of it right now, but I think we're going to see something pretty soon. All right. Now for my short, and the short is the thing that I am against, or the thing I don't like, the thing that I think is kind of bogus. And this week, it's all about the negative press coming out about Tesla. Now, there are a couple articles I want to call out specifically here, and this all follows the technology hype cycle. And if you're on my email list, you got an image of that and some more detail recently. So if you guys already know, but for those of you that aren't on the email list, what's going on here is technologies, when they come out, they have this insane amount of hype, right? The Model 3, for example, just nuts amount of hype. Then reality starts to set in, and you kind of go through this, what they call the trough of disillusionment. You kind of go in this low cycle of negative press starting to roll in, and really the hype starting to wipe away. And then you kind of have this long tail ascension into kind of a realization of how groundbreaking these technologies are. Think about, the iPhone, for example. When it first came out, Apple and Apple fans were just blown away. It was just the most amazing thing in the world, right? And a lot of other people were calling him out saying, look, that thing sucks. It doesn't do this, doesn't do this, doesn't do this, whatever. And so after it got here, again, Steve Ballmer calling it, saying, oh, business users will never want this. It doesn't have a keyboard, etc. Well, there was a big, trough. There's a big down cycle there where people were really short on it. And then guess what? As it started to come up, people, it has really think of the iPhone as a game changer in technology. I think it has its limitations and all those kind of things. We can talk about those in the future, but I think that's what we're starting to see here. So this article from Chicago Tribune says, I'll just give you the one quip here and then we'll move on, is that the push for driverless and electric trucks evidenced by the recent gaudy rollout of the Tesla semi-trailer truck is a fool's errand. These quote-unquote innovations are akin to improving 8-track and cassette tapes in a world of streaming services. So I think the point they're trying to make here is that, these things suck and that we should really be focusing on someone else and blah, blah, blah. But, the wording here is so disrespectful and so lame and such a low blow. I really, think it tarnishes, any kind of credibility that this brand had. So with that, we're going to move right on because they don't deserve another second there. Now this one, with TechCrunch is a bit different. And this is one that I'm seeing a lot more of, is that basically the shorts, the people that are against Tesla, that think it's going to, fall over tomorrow, also the same people, again, that said the iPhone, wasn't going to work and that electric cars aren't happening and, all those kind of things. The coal industry kind of people, which I assume, this guy is here, is writing about this, saying that, and I'll just quote from the article here. Jim Channel summarized all of these reasons why nicely. If you wouldn't be short a multi-billion-dollar loss-making enterprise in a cyclical business with a leveraged balance sheet, questionable accounting, and every executive leaving, run by a CEO with a questionable relationship with the truth, what would you be short? It sort of ticks all the boxes. A lot of people think bankruptcy looms in Tesla's future. Of course, Tesla bears have been saying this for years, and they've consistently been wrong. But this time, are they right? So here's the thing. The mantra is grow or die. So profitability, and I get questions about this all the time. Well, this company, they're not profitable, this and that. Right, yeah. For the steam engines of the world and the GMs and the companies that have been around for hundreds of years, profitability is important, right? I mean, people live on these things in terms of dividends and all that. Now, when you have basically a fledgling automaker, Tesla's hasn't been around nearly as long as any of the others. And if you think about it, they're one of the only two U.S. automakers that haven't declared bankruptcy, them and Ford. And so it behooves them to grow at as fast as humanly possible, which means spending more money on growth tactics and growth strategies like building out things for the Model 3, developing new battery technology, all these kind of things. They must do those things in order to stay afloat, in order to really compete, because they haven't made it yet, right? Unlike these other companies that have been around for hundreds of years and they're kind of too big to fail, Tesla is still in that phase. Now, as Elon had put it before, the likelihood that they'll be around in 5 years is much stronger now than it had been previously. So I think that, obviously Tesla has, on the long run here, is going to make a huge impact on our world. I still question whether or not some of their advancements, such as the Model 3, will actually be the thing, right? If you think about the iPhone is not the thing. It may have something like 40% of the US market, but worldwide it has around 15% of the smartphone market, meaning 85% of the world that has a smartphone, they do not have an iPhone. 85%. However, every smartphone in the world looks just like an iPhone. It looks exactly the same. Why? Because they were the ones that combined that brought the pieces together to create a product that did capture everyone's imagination, and then everyone else had been playing catch up since then. I think now Apple, and it's really not a debate, is years behind, even with the iPhone X, or years behind other phone makers. But the point is that while Apple has succeeded tremendously with this, they are not the dominant player, right? So many other companies have much larger market shares. So the same is true here, right? Whether or not Tesla, with the Model 3 itself, for example, really their kind of iPhone type product, is the thing that then the whole world wants, there are likely going to be some strong competitors, and really, because they are so sought after and so many people want their products, it is going to shift the market towards their style of car making, really high tech, really minimalist, that kind of a thing. So when I see articles like this, and there are many others that have been out there recently, it really gets me upset, because people are just completely missing the point here and really pandering to the shorts and the people that want us to have this short-term, short-sighted thinking, where executive compensation is tied to quarterly earnings, so we lay off thousands of people to look better so I can make more money. The whole notion here of maximize shareholder value is a big fallacy that's been disproved a lot of ways. So these articles really piss me off, and it really makes me upset because they just don't get it. And I really can't wait for Tesla, I guess, to continue to prove them wrong. And so that is my short for the week. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sure many of you disagree with me, and I would like to understand why. So please leave me a comment if you have one on that whole notion. Now let's move on to the long, and this is the thing that I'm long on, the thing I like. And that this week is that Tesla is working with Apple and others to sustainably secure all of the cobalt they use, which is a big part of batteries for the Tesla cars, as well as for things like the phones, laptops, basically all, the things, not all, but I mean a good chunk of what you have, that anything that's a lithium-ion battery. Now, I'll read a little bit here from the article, and they state that some estimates say that more than a third of all cars in the world could be electric in 2020. I think that's strong, but yeah. In 20 years. But as demand and interest for an obscure mineral increases, car manufacturers are presented with a new challenge: acquiring enough in time to make electric vehicles. Now, I've already talked about lithium before. Lithium we're actually totally fine with. And in fact, an MIT study that just came out said there may be some short-term bottlenecks, but even when it comes to cobalt and lithium, totally fine. We have plenty to actually make. But the question is about the supply chain. Now, 60% of the world's cobalt comes from the Congo, where children often do much of the hard labor. Because of that, Apple and Tesla are among companies refusing to use what they term unethical cobalt in their batteries. In 2014, a spokesperson for Tesla promised to only use cobalt mined in North America. Now, that is almost impossible because the mining operations in the United States, or in North America, I'll say, really don't provide enough of what they need. And the idea, though, that companies like this are getting together to do something that they believe in ethically, I am really long on. I like to see companies do these kind of things. Now, I don't think that they'll be able to get it totally from North America, so they'll still have to get it from the Congo. But I hope that they will be able to build a system that guarantees these operations are done in a more sustainable way, and also a way that doesn't exploit child labor and violate other human rights, which all over the world has been happening really, I don't know, since humans have been around. But the question I still have is whether or not it's possible for it to really for a system like this to exist. And what I mean by that is diamonds, for example, are notoriously difficult to tell the source of. So there have been some crazy videos. There was a guy that did one on Brilliant Earth, which is a diamond manufacturer, which always has they full on send out certificates saying this is ethically sourced, it's conflict free, etc. And he went and tried to track it down, and it turns out tracking a diamond to be conflict free is damn near impossible. So I love the idea of what they're doing here. The optimist in me hopes that they can realize it, but I'm also skeptical on whether or not it's truly possible. So my long here is that companies like this are getting together to do something which I think is the right thing to do. And then on the other hand, I'm still kind of holding out that we need to make sure that there's some accountability. So there you go. That's my log for the week. I'd love to know what you think about this. I've had a lot of questions about this in the past. I haven't talked about cobalt. I've talked about lithium. So there you go. Now, in global news, this is a time for an applause. Norway is ditching the heavily criticized Tesla tax. And let me talk about this a little bit here. Norway, considered an electric vehicle pioneer, has been mulling a new tax on the emission-free vehicles. Since the government's proposed one-off fee is based on the vehicle's weight, it quickly started being called the Tesla tax. This refers to the fact that Tesla's relatively heavy cars are the only vehicles qualifying in the highest class, which would lead to an $8,800 or 70,000 Norwegian krone one-off fee, according to the NRK and other Norwegian media. The motivation behind the fee was that heavy electric vehicles take a toll on the roads. The proposal has faced heavy criticism, and now the Norwegian government has decided to ditch the proposal. Having failed to garner enough support from the supporting political parties in parliament, reports SVD, sorry, I can't pronounce that. The proposal got fierce resistance from the environmental movement, Bellana, and the Norwegian EV Association, who said it arrives just when zero-emission vehicles are becoming the new norm in Norway. So congratulations to the folks that were able to get this repealed. I think that, yeah, this seemed ridiculous when I first saw it. A lot of people sent this to me, and so thank you for calling it to my attention. You know, Norway continues to be the leader. They don't have the most electric vehicles. It's a smaller country relatively, so they do have the most per capita. But hopefully other countries are going to look at them and follow whatever model they come up with to pay for those things, because that certainly is a thing. Is that, for example, in California, I think after 2020, all electric vehicles will have a $100 per year fee, which is basically to pay for the roads, because you're no longer paying the gas tax, which just went up by like 30 cents or something crazy here. So gas taxes continue to rise, which is good, because that means that more people are going to go electric as batteries become cheaper and electric cars become cheaper and have longer ranges. They become more of a normal car. I think we're going to really see the transition here. 20 years is a long way out. I think within 5 to 10 years, we'll see a big shift in countries like the United States, not to mention other countries like China, which have been pushing ahead for the past several years and are really being aggressive with what they offer. So cheers to Norway for doing the right thing. And I really can't wait to hear what other types of systems you come up with and ways that we can learn from whatever model you build. All right. That is all I have for the news today, but now I'm going to take a look and let's do some Q&A. If you are on Crowdcast, let me stop sharing my screen whenever I figure out how to do that. Yep, there we go. And once I stop sharing my screen, you have this infinity effect, which is cool. I'm going to go over to ask a question. We're going to go to full screen. Make sure to go vote so that way you... only the most popular questions get answered. I should be able to get to all of them. But this is an example of the community-driven Q&A, which I absolutely love far more than I do the just random stuff that happens inside of YouTube. So if you guys want to be a part of this, make sure to go to teslanomics.co/join, get on the email list, and then next week you'll be able to join. It looks like we had about 193 people join now, so almost 100. Okay, first question, Joe Grande. I saw Bjorn Nyland YouTube video where he claims his Tesla X battery lost about a third of its charge sitting in the airport parking lot for a week. What can you tell us about this phantom power loss? Thanks. Yeah, that totally is possible depending on the weather conditions. Also, the wind appears to be a factor. I did a video about this recently. There's a company out there called Teslab, Tezlab, and you can see some videos I did, or just Google them and you'll find them. They have an app which actually tracks your phantom drain for you. It's kind of like having a Fitbit for your Tesla. So if you have a Tesla and you're interested in this stuff and tracking it, go get that. You can have the email report sent to you, and you can also have it on your phone. I would show you, but I just got a new phone. I haven't set it up yet. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's totally possible depending on some of the conditions. A third, yeah, that's doable. I know mine, if it just sits there, maybe in about a week, it'll lose not a lot, but I'm also in a garage in a very temperate climate. So yeah, thanks for the question, Joe. All right, next we have a question from Walt. Walt asks, since the Tesla computer is wired to the internet for updates, mapping, and radio, etc., is there a monthly charge for cell service like a phone? Also, if the car's attached to the internet through AT&T or whatever cell service, what about places like where I live in the northern coast of California, where there's little or no cell service? How does that affect the car, if at all? Yeah, great question. So I know with my Model S, they're giving it to us free for 4 years. I'm not quite sure about the Model 3, if those details are out yet. I'm actually assuming they might be, because now people are getting invites. But yeah, so through the S and the X, it's 4 years for free, potentially longer. They seemed kind of fuzzy on how that'll all work. But yeah, it does have issues if you're in an area where there's not great signal. I don't know which provider it uses. It's not clear. But yeah, I mean, it has little bars in there and it kind of does its own thing. So yeah, it works awesome. As far as my experience has been, I haven't, I don't know if I've been to the town you're in. I've driven all up and down the coast and it generally works really well. But there are some times when it loses signal. So I live in an area too where cell signal is great, but I'm on a hill. San Diego is very kind of hilly and canyons and stuff all over. So there are times when it's hard, when it doesn't have a great signal. But overall, it's worked well for me. And by the way, if you have an older car like I do, you can even upgrade that to the 4G connection. Mine's only 3G, which works well. But I may do the upgrade to the 4G, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for the question. Norm asks, do you think the Roadster 2.0 has new battery tech or simply two 100D battery packs stacked one above the other? That's a good question. I think that there's some advancements here, which those advancements could be the casing and kind of how they fit together, or it could be something about this battery cells or whatever. But yeah, I think there's definitely some battery advancements there. The question is kind of how insane are they, or is it just kind of some clever little innovations, or are we talking major step forward? We'll see as more stuff comes out. Because of this, though, I think a lot of people are speculating, and rightly so, that we will likely see some major updates to the S and the X battery capabilities, which really I think they have to do very soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks for the question, Norm. Let me go to Walt again. Has there been any word yet if Elon has come through this mention of something special for early reservation holders? I haven't seen it. I really haven't. And the fact that people are already ordering their cars and I haven't seen it there, yeah, it might be a question whether or not it comes in later as like a software update or something like that. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll find out. Thanks for the question. The Jedi Will 1 asks, what do you think about the recent comments by Bob Lutz about Tesla going broke and losing enterprise? Are these new? I feel like he's been saying this for 6 years. Bob Lutz is a funny guy. That's all I have to say. I enjoy watching him because it's always comedic to me. Yeah. Don't really have a comment on it though. He's wrong. He's been wrong. If history shows anything, that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So yeah, there's that. Cyrus asks, estimate on how big a solar array to be able to support the mega charger. It's going to be big, man. It's going to be massive, probably, honestly. I'm not sure. I can't really even speculate. But it's going to have to be big, especially if you have multiple trucks coming in, which is fine because you probably put them out in the middle of nowhere, probably build a cafe. Like there's a new one with a cafe here in California. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll make it kind of a nice experience for them. But yeah, at the same time, if you have multiple trucks coming in, using it over and over again, it's going to be pretty massive, I'm sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Vic asks, do you think the 18-inch wheels or 19-inch sport wheels will be the most popular, and is there an option for wider tires on the rear versus the front tires? I don't think there is out of the box. I'm sure aftermarket companies like Unplugged Performance in LA will be doing things like that. Which ones are going to be the most popular? I think I did a video on this, and I forget what the answer was. But I think the Aero wheels actually will be the most popular, especially now that you can remove the hubcap and you don't have this hideous-looking thing on the outside. So that's what I'm getting, but I'm also going to probably swap them out for some lighter ones because it's amazing what you can do to reduce the weight on the car by putting in better or lighter rims. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Once I get my Model 3, we're going to do some fun stuff with it. And so yeah, it's going to be a blast. I've got some friends up in LA. We're just going to go just trick this thing out and have fun with it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Gary, how's it going? Thanks for joining me yet again. Your question is, there's a long-range premium upgrade Model 3 listed on CL for Connecticut for $65,000 by an early reservation holder. The holder will config to the buyer's wishes and sell the car to the buyer when delivered. The ad says delivery by Christmas. What do you think? Goodbye? It depends. $65,000 is really not that crazy of a price, considering the scarcity of it. And yeah, I mean, I think the long range premium upgrade, you're already looking in the 50s. So with taxes and everything else, yeah, it's not a bad deal. Yeah, I don't know if it's a good buy, but it'll be, I would say that's not insane. If it were double that price, I would say that's crazy, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if somebody bought it even then. So yeah, it's an interesting question. Yeah, I'm curious. If you go for it, let me know. Tom asks, did you browse through the leaked Model 3 owner's manual already? If so, did you find anything? No, I haven't looked at it. It was Thanksgiving here. I had family in town. I'm trying to rebuild my computers, get the video out last week. I haven't had any time to dig into those things, nor have I had time to really sit through the configurator, the actual configurator that people are posting. I still haven't got my invite, by the way, so I'm still waiting on that. I'm kind of surprised by that. But in any event, no, not yet, but stay tuned. I will be parsing through that in the coming week or so. Melissa asks, I reserved my Model 3 August 28th, 2017. My delivery is scheduled for late 2018. Will I be receiving a 2018 Model 3 or 2019 Model 3, or will be their choice? Yeah, I would say once you get the invite, you'll know more. And so as far as right now goes, just hang tight, I guess. As that delivery ramp goes up, I think we're going to see thousands of these being delivered. So it may be sooner than you think. Yeah, hang on to your butt there. It's going to be a little wild ride here for a while. Thanks for the question. Walt asks, what is the premium package for the Model 3 for the $4,000 extra charge? Yeah, if you go to Teslanomics.co/Model 3 specs, is that it? Let's see if I guessed right. Hey, there you go. You can go check this out. And then I actually have a thing here, which is the premium section. So it's actually $5,000, and you can see what it is there exactly. So if you go to Teslanomics.co/Model 3 specs, you can see it. I have it all the pricing listed right there. So yeah, enjoy. Pranav asks, with regenerative braking, the Tesla car will slow down faster than the ICE car. Do brake lights show up as one lift his or her foot from the acceleration pedal? I'm thinking it could be risky if the car behind you realize the regen brake has applied, especially I've noticed people drive too close in Texas. Okay, at very highway speeds. I actually wonder this too. I haven't tested. I do not think they do. But I agree that maybe they should. I'm going to go test that because I've been wondering this myself, and I've never actually looked into it. So thanks for the question. I think that's a good one. Narcotas asks, Tesla themselves said their batteries cost $145 per kilowatt. Since the semi needs 1,000 kilowatt hours, how will they do that? Excuse me. Sorry. Still getting over a cough. Yeah, I'm going with the higher breakthrough in the battery tech. The video I posted on Saturday about this covered that exact point. Yeah, so go take a look at that. Thanks for the question. Another question from me. Did you hear about the Tesla Roadster hitting 0 to 60 1.3? No. I don't think so, man. That's insane. One of the big questions about this, by the way, is whether or not it hits 0 to 60 with the 1 foot of rollout, which is the Motor Trend spec, or from a dead stop, because that really can make a big difference. Go check out the Engineering Explained channel. The guys there do a great job breaking this down. Thanks for the question. Burned asks, what do you think about the Model S facelift or the current facelift in 2 to 3 years? Yeah, I think we'll get more with the battery tech. I don't think we're going to see a facelift in a while. I, however, am going to do a facelift on my Model S with my friends up in LA at Unplugged Performance. So stay tuned for that because I cannot wait. I'm trying to time it at the same time that I get my new Arachnid tires so you can kind of have a full, makeover. So stay tuned. I'm going to have fun and we're going to do this. We're trying to do it soon. I'm just waiting on those tires. So I'm going to give those guys a call actually as soon as we're done here. Thanks for the question. All right, we got a couple more that came in. Michael asks, anyone know about how many people other than employees have got the email to configure? Man, it seems like hundreds, if not thousands. I don't know if there's an official number. Mike asks, do you know anything about the software glitch associated with the latest software update? I lost my speed and lane following control. No, I don't. Call Tesla service for that for sure. That seems like a problem. I don't have autopilot. I have the driver's edition. So, I'm still, I'm not in that boat at all. So. All right, guys, thank you all for the questions. I appreciate the time here. If you aren't on my email list, please go to Teslanomics.co and get on it. That way you will not miss a single thing. Stay tuned this week. I have a couple other videos coming out, including a new kind of series where I break down the costs of certain other items in our world that are really kind of groundbreaking. So stay tuned for that, probably this weekend, maybe-ish, depending on how soon I get it. And some other things that I'm posting later this week. And if you guys are unfamiliar, what we try to do is we try to look at the costs and the data and the economics behind companies like Tesla and others. So that's really the main thing. So consider subscribing if you're new here. And with all of that said, don't forget, when you free the data, your mind will follow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys back here next time. Cheers.